want to tell you about a foundational set of ideas that has really shaped the way I do my career coaching. And I'm a little sheepish about it because this doesn't come from a book. It doesn't even it comes from an interpretation of a book. And I haven't read the underlying book, and I probably never will. So this is a book review. In my defense, it's like a 117-page book review, and it is a book review of a book called The Educated Mind, but it's about schooling and education reform, which are, kind of off topic of career coaching, you'd think. I first encountered this book review when I was reading and looking a lot at what is school for as a parent. I was trying to figure out whether, how I should evaluate what was happening in my kid's school and how much I should care about it. And I came across this thinker named Brandon Hendrickson. He runs an online curriculum called Science is Weird, and I think of him as a really extraordinary thinker and communicator, at least for me. And so that led me to this book review, and it's entertainingly written, and it gave me a lot to think about that I come back to as a coach again and again. So apparently Kieran Egan, this education reformer, asked the question, what are schools for, and why are they kind of crappy at any of those things? And the three options that schools have been designed around are socialization, right, teaching kids to live in culture, or a discovery of truth, right, like what is the truth about the world, or becoming their unique individual selves, so individual development. And this education reformer concludes schools are kind of crappy at all of those things. They might get one of them right, but it's really unlikely that they will do all three, even though we ask them to do all three. And he offers a different framework. And what his framework essentially is, as interpreted by Brandon Hendrickson, which is the only interpretation I have, is that schools are meant to teach children these 5 methods of understanding, these 5 fundamental intellectual tools for making sense of the world. And it is these 5 tools that I come back to when I think about coaching, particularly for people who are trying to make sense of their lives and figure out how work fits into their lives. Using all 5 frames of understanding has made me richer, and I think has helped clients see their choices in different ways that resonate with them. So according to this educational reformer, whose original work I have not yet read, there are 5 kinds of understanding, right? And these kinds of understanding are somatic. You feel it in your body. It's sort of that gut level of knowing. And that is probably pre-linguistic, body-based knowing. It's that felt sense that we all have of whether something is working or not. There is the mythic level of understanding. So this is good versus evil, great stories and myths. There are emotional stakes. There is metaphor and rhythm in this kind of mythic meaning making. Then there is romantic, right, which are sort of heroes, extremes, wonder, quests, right, like this, idealism and this sort of hunt for the extraordinary. And then really that is about like what are the stakes and what's unusual and what's really remarkable in a story or a life. And then the 4th level of understanding is philosophic. And this is where, a lot of me and a lot of my clients dwell, which are frameworks and language and logic and rational sort of models of the world. I'm trying to find this model here. And that's where a lot of understanding lives, but it's not necessarily where we find meaning. And then the final level of understanding is ironic, right? And ironic is like we can choose the story we tell. We are comfortable with ambiguity. We are holding many stories at once, and we recognize we get to choose between them. So we can be skeptical. We can reinterpret the stories we tell ourselves in light of new information, or to change the narrative, to change the story of our life. I found, first, this is a beautifully written piece. It's an introduction to the mind of Brendan Hendrickson, who I think is a really interesting thinker. And second, I want you to think about these kinds of understanding, and are you using all 5 kinds of understanding as you attempt to make meaning of the information that's around you? Whenever I stop and try to incorporate another layer, I find something richer that I hadn't seen before, and maybe it'll be useful to you.